Hello.
Good afternoon, Jason. Yeah, good afternoon.
Hi. Welcome everyone to another Bounce Back webinar. Right now, we have here Nato Agbayani, and we're going to Nato. What are we going to discuss today?
Today it's going to be about life skills, lifelong learning, tech work in the new normal. So when we had before the education sector, ngayon naman the tech work sector.
Okay, great. So mga Bounce Back members, please share this link, okay, para makatulong tayo sa mga tao na kailangan ng guidance and advice. Okay, so create watch parties so that you can share this to everybody in your network. So Nato, please take it away.
Thank you, Jason. Jason's our founder for Bounce Back PH. So we'd like to introduce to you tonight today's guests. We are here with life skills, lifelong learning, and tech work in the new normal. This is brought to you by Bounce Back Academy and the Practical Learning Company, and of course, Bounce Back PH. So we'd like to introduce to you them one by one. We'll start with our government representative, Deputy Director General Rosana Urdaneta. She's the Deputy Director General for Policies and Planning of TESDA. All right, and we also would like to introduce to you one of our other guests, si Ed De La Torre, Edicio De La Torre. He's Chair of Education for Life and the Vice Chair of the 68-year-old Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement. All right. And then, of course, another guest is Mylene Abiva. She's the president and CEO of Delta Multimedia, and she's also the president of the Women Business Council of the Philippines, also a colleague in the Philippine Marketing Association. And last but not the least, my mentor, my boss in PMA, no other than Henry Tinedero. He's an author, a professor. He's the dean of St. Clair for life skills, and also the former president of the Philippine Marketing Association. So welcome everyone. We would like to welcome all our guests also who are watching live now here at lifelong skills, life skills, lifelong learning, and tech book in the new normal. So this is what we'll do. We'll try to get government's take first on the topic, tech book, and then we'll go to Ed, and then Mylene, and then Henry. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
Hi.
So, DDG Rosana, what can you say about the state of tech book in the Philippines right now? And how can we survive the new normal?
That's a very difficult question. So, nagising na lang kami isang umaga actually na isa ako sa unang na-quarantine because I was one among those who had been present in the meeting sa Senate, yung kay Senator Gatchalian.
Wow.
So after 1 week yun talagang blanco, para ako nasa blank na wall. Trying to tell myself, ano ba talaga yung dapat namin gawin? So, thank you for this opportunity for sa Bounce Back for organizing this webinar. So let me go back to what I'm trying to say. Siguro after 2 weeks ko palang na-realize together with our secretary that we have to move forward because may nangyari din sa amin. My colleague Deputy Director General Rosales passed away because of COVID. So yun, we came up with an plan, an operations plan. We call it TESDA Abot Lahat towards the new normal, which outlines our directions and priorities during this crisis and beyond. So, let me share with you yung TESDA plan Abot Lahat namin. May I request to share it on screen? My
Yes.
presentation.
Yes. All right.
As I was saying, we call this Oplan TESDA Abot Lahat. We know very well that we are in a VUCA world. Everything is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The whole global economy is almost shut down, and each country is grappling on how to combat the COVID-19. We were trying to be in TESDA, we came up with an NTSDP and a framework for the fourth IR. Kasi yun ang particular challenge na tinitingnan namin So bigla na lang isang araw nagising tayo na ang kalaban pala natin is COVID-19. So it was a realization, it was an enlightening realization for us that somehow everything should also move on even if you are in the midst of a pandemic. So next slide. We came up with this new, next slide please. We came up with a new mission. Of course, we anchor it on our original mission. We said to ourselves that we have to contribute to the nation's food, health, and job security and adapt to a new normal state in carrying out our mandate of providing skills training and certification to Filipinos in order for them to get jobs or earn livelihood. So our objective is to come up with relevant policies, responsive policies, and programs to help society adjust to this pandemic and to the new normal. So we align the test demand with we want to ensure that there will be more relevant and responsive DVET programs and policies. We want to develop innovative and flexible learning delivery programs and systems. We want to design and implement innovative, accessible programs that will meet the needs and requirements of the communities and of course our target clienteles and stakeholders. We wanted also to strengthen institutional capacity of TESDA as an agency to be responsive to the and adaptable to the form or any forms, actually any form of crisis. Next slide. Consistent with the operation plan mission to contribute to the nation's food, health, and job security in order to adapt to this new normal state, TESDA will be focusing on the four sectors: agriculture, health, ICT, and construction. These are also the priority sectors of the NTSDP for 2018-2022. Food security has always been a concern when this pandemic has started, and to support the government's trust of ensuring the country's food security, we are prioritizing agriculture. In fact, even before this pandemic, Secretary La Peña has already mandated that this should be our priority. He came up with the directive that all test institutions should come up with a mini organic farm. Health, because we are in the health emergency and there is a need to train for health workers. We saw naman the fact na talagang hirap na hirap tayo during the COVID-19 na hindi natin alam kung saan tayo pupunta. We don't even see sino yung mga barangay health workers namin. So we realize na ang tagal-tagal na namin may training regulations sa barangay health services. But we need to really provide more or we really have to encourage more TVET providers, and we have to partner with DILG in coming up with the mass training for barangay health workers. And then the ICT, of course, we all know this particular Zoom or webinar, a virtual presentation and meetings that we have. We need to really build up the ICT. It has been there for quite a time, pero talagang the seriousness that we have to really go into this is already wala nang kawala talaga. Even sa lahat, sa business, sa schools, sa church, sa offices, lahat ng lahat ng ginagawa natin needs ICT. So we need a reliable ICT infrastructure and IT support services. Of course, in order to bounce back into the new normal, we really need to boost again the build, the construction sector for us to be able to go back to our economy. So it's one among those priorities that the government has really have identified as a bounce back mechanism. So the test operational plan is aligned, of course, to the DEDA's three-phase approach. We call the phase one a survival, which is currently being implemented. That is primarily from March to June 2020, which involves the immediate response of TESDA during the crisis, focusing on reducing possible transmission of the disease and ensuring safety and security. So we have to also be in consonance with what the government is doing. Phase two, which is we have scheduled to have been with us as a transition from July to December, is to provide for TESDA's action plans, programs, and activities during the modified community quarantine as we transition to the new normal. And of course, the phase three, which is the structural phase, and that is what we call the new normal, which is from this 2021 to 2022. So for survival, what we did was to reduce possible transmission. So what all at one point, all of our training centers have been closed from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Classes were suspended, assessment were suspended, work from home arrangements were implemented within TESDA and the TESDA TTIs. So what we did was to really provide what we have at that moment. Sabi nga nila, kung nandun ka daw, yung necessity daw is akin to a lot of discoveries, no? So what we did was to come up with face mask productions. We came up also with PPEs na ito binigay namin sa mga frontliners at sa mga hospitals. And of course, the food packs that we gathered from the mini organic farms, yung bread and pastry production namin also had produced a lot of breads in order to provide yung mga hospital frontliners. And then we came up also with some innovative mini invention like prototypes of inexpensive ventilators. So at this point also, we have also tried to make talaga the TESDA online program as accessible as possible. So the TESDA online program became the prominent alternative mode of TVET learning while in quarantine. Um, the problem was the surge of enrollees. So what we did was to really partner with the ICT and the Amazon Web Services for us to really provide a bigger bandwidth in order to accommodate all the enrollees for the TESDA online program. Of course, as I was saying, the insurance of the food security policies and programs to promote food security have been already developed and disseminated to all our regional directors. And we came up with a crisis management plan. Next is the transitional. Um, Transitional is that we're beginning to develop flexible learning arrangements. Since we have the TESDA online program, we're now trying also to develop offline and online and populate our online programs. by way of trying to um, populate the test the online programs. We have link with international partners as well as local partners to provide immediate links to our test the online program para mas marami po makakuha ng mga magagandang programa lalo na sa agriculture at saka health and ICT. And then we are also trying now to build up our technology-based systems, tools, and processes for continued delivery of test the services and programs. We are now also aligning our plans and policies. Ito nga, kasama tong OPLAN as well as the planning guidelines. Lahat ng guidelines namin ngayon, we are trying to say already that we have to automate even the registration of our programs. Pati yung pag-process ng mga vouchers namin, we already said that we have to accept e-signatures. So we're trying to review all our policies and programs so that it would be responsive to the new normal. And again, food security. We are partnering with Department of Agriculture and the Department of Agrarian Reform in order to bolster this particular aspect. The structural, that is the, shall we say, the new normal already. By that time, we are saying that we have already the infrastructure, both the software and hardware. We can already be very confident in implementing our flexible learning system. We have built already our learning delivery system in such a way that it could reach a number of people at any given time with at least trying to look into the social distancing issue still. Then we have to recommence the implementation of projects and programs, especially the build programs, and implement modified all alternative methods in the delivery and implementation, populate and strengthen the TESDA online program, and of course, improve agility and flexibility of all our TESDA processes, policies, and systems. In a nutshell, that's our offline TESDA about lahat. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you, Rosana. We really appreciate the TESDA's participation in this particular webinar. We go now to Ed De La Torre. Ed, what do you think is the practical? I mean, you've been in training and lifelong learning for the longest time. You were DG of TESDA at some point in your career. What can you say about how can people still continue learning at this point, at this time where there's COVID, where there's crisis? How can they really continue learning? A lot of teachers are watching us from all over the Philippines, from Zamboanga, from as far north as Batanes. So many people are watching right now. What can you tell them? Like, what's your take on this crisis, and how can people continue to learn? And what would be the important things that they should learn at this point?
Well, since I've been in home quarantine since the beginning,
Yeah.
The broader educational philosophy which I work with in my other NGO, yung Education for Life Foundation, is learning from life, learning for life, learning throughout life. It sounds very broad, philosophical, and vague, but really, I mean, just practical example. Okay, when the school is closed, when the training center is closed, I mean, in other words, when the formal or organized methods of teaching for learning are not there, what happens? Then you realize, and I think Rose already referred to that, you talk of the fourth industrial revolution and fourth Tibet 4.0, then you realize, at least for people who have internet access, my gosh, they start not just watching the news or social media, and when they follow the advice, if you want to lessen your tension, bawasan na ninyo ang pag-Facebook nyo at pag ano. manood na kayo ng mga informational, educational, and other materials. So there's a lot available, really. A lot of it obviously is parang global, less Filipino. But one role supposedly advocated in this, even now, even not just but now, is who will help curate. For example, in concrete, uh, pwedeng tanungin ng iba, o sige, meron akong internet access. Gusto kong matuto ng how do I maintain my para at least may financial ako, and then anong magagawa ko at home, what can I produce or what can I sell. So ang tanong niya siguro, will you please give me the top 5 or top 10 links that are available. You don't even have to create the course, you have to identify them, and then so I think that's going to be one of the, I mean, it has been always discussed, but now it will become an integral and essential part. Yung, kahit sa TESOL, pinag-usapan namin doon, gagawa pa ba tayo ng sarili nating mga specific standards or training materials? Marami dyan off the shelf, pwede kunin na lang natin, i-curate na lang natin. Of course, ideally, you can do adaptation and innovation. But I think for quick, ang unang tingnan natin, what is available. Now, for that to happen, there's of course something that's related to life skill na, meaning, siyempre, including mental health, siyempre, kung magmumukmuk ka lang, or magdarasal ka lang, or maghihintay, walang mangyayari yan. So, ang tanong ngayon you also need assistance, both from family and friends, and that's where also mentors and counselors can come in. Yung whole idea ng, okay, after you overcome, okay naman, normal ka, ma-depress ka ng konti, maasar ng konti. But afterwards, say, sige, advice nila lagi when you're in quarantine, 2 things. Develop a routine, and develop some projects. I remember my daughter asking me, Tatay, anong feeling mo? Ako, matagal naman akong nakulong. Saka, including na isolate. Pero sa una nga, gusto ko matulog ng matagal, ayaw magising agad. Or manood na lang ng Netflix, kaliwat kanan. But after a while, you start saying, shape up. Have a routine. Not just wake up, schedule some exercise. Some learning moments talaga. Now, ideally, and that's where we can develop with bounce back, magtulungan sa halip na sarili mong kayod lang. But the philosophy is learn from life in your life situation. Ano ang pwede pang matutunan dyan? But more important, for life. Bakit ka mag-aaral? Hindi mo naman kailangan, hindi mo magagamit, hindi ka interesado. So, what is it? And for a lot of people who are not, sabihin natin maybe relatively privileged like us, middle class, may konti pang savings, may pagka-intellectual, learning for them, maliling mo sa what really are essential, including their fears about pag ako'y tinamaan, how do I prevent being infected, how do I keep my immunity, how do I strengthen my health, and then paano ako kikita kahit paano, kung hindi man agad, what can I develop so that when things open up, there is something I can offer which will give me some earnings. So I think this basic philosophy muna ng talagang tingnan na muna anong available sa buhay mo mismo, sa bahay mo, sa community, sa link mo. And then hopefully, just like TESDA is shaping up, DepEd is shaping up, CHED is shaping up, and also the private educational institutions, tingnan natin. But matagal yan because institutions yan I think we have to start really, and I think for bounce back education, mahalagang discussin natin, to what extent are you a learner and to what extent are you a teacher mentor at this stage? I'll give you a very simple example nangyari rito sa amin kasi nagkataon lang, my daughter is a millennial, may daba siyang pinsan who's working from home, millennial din, may isa pa nga. So, 4 sila. So, they're doing their work. Mamaya sinabi, lagi naman tayong rice at sardinas at gulay. Pwede ba tayo? So, tama yung sinabi ni Rose. Mag-bake tayo ng cookies and all that. So, nag-aral lang sila sa sa web. But ang maganda, yung boyfriend naman ng daughter ko is actually a chef who's a graduate in Japan of of a culinary school. So, over phone nagbibigay. Tapos, nagganon siya, nagganon. Mamaya sabi ng iba, kung mag-exchange tayo, in fact, I have an offer, yung kanyang family, bebake ng cinnamon rolls. O sige, padala namin sa iyo, exchange. O padala namin kayo ng cookies. Mamaya, nagsisimula ng mag-business ng konti. Ibang klase mag-isip itong mga kabataan. No? First of all, they learn, but also they say, ano ba ito? Forever. Hindi man lang namin either mag-exchange, barter, o kumita. Now, I was thinking of that, sabi ko, can you imagine if I were in TESDA, I will say, paano? How will I certify you? So we need, I think Rose knows that matagal nang challenge sa amin sa TESDA nun. How do we have more flexible but also rigorous systems of recognizing prior learning or recognizing learning that is acquired not necessarily only through the formally structured institutions and programs. So that's one. The other, which is more, I think, related to the strategic point ni Rose is malinaw na food, especially in Metro Manila. No? So, and beyond the canned goods and the binibigay ng barangay, what about vegetables? What about fish? What about meat? Or what about in between? So, ang lumalabas talaga ngayon, the food system in the Philippines, including the global food system, is really going to be reviewed. The whole idea of very long food miles trying to earn from parang mas mura doon and all that. I think not just the concern for environment but even for resilience and security, we will want shorter food miles. So for example, hindi lahat ng vegetables galing Baguio, malayo pa, diba? Baka may ibang ganyan. So there is going to be really, I think, an interesting challenge because hindi naman pwedeng artisan kanya-kanya na lang. Paano magkaroon ng system na whether SUCs or techvoc institutions or learning farms and production farms can link with logistics, can link with warehousing, can link with delivery, and this will be supported by parang web-based information from producer to consumers to in between. So this is exciting, because again, techvoc is driven by what is the industry it is serving, what is the economy. Hindi naman gagawa ka ng sariling curriculum tapos magpo-produce. No, ano nag-i-emerge na mga businesses at tanggap ng lahat na lalaki at lalaki, hindi lang yung food production, food processing, but also food delivery. One small example, just to wind up. I was talking to an owner of one of the kind of very large department stores or parang minimal, but definitely not medium lang, large in Zamboanga. Budget-wise yata. Sabi niya, inisip ko ngayon, tutuloy namin yung amin, pero definitely we should have a second business model na magmo-mobile na rin kami. Pero sabi niya, sa mobile na yon, sa halip na gawin kong business, maghanap ako ng ibang i-organize yung makana-displace na tricycle drivers at sila magiging parang grab food and all that. So, there are other businesses also saying, let us combine yung brick and mortar pupunta sa'yo versus pupunta ka sa mga consumers. So, may mga implications yan for not just business models but also training and standard. At talaga ang laki ng papel ng communications, including the issue later, yung trust and security, that the whole idea both for payments and quality. So these are some of the ideas na para magang accept that the changes are happening. So ang tanong ngayon what can we do not just to prepare for that, but right now, learn what we can learn, link with those whom we can link with, and then slowly and gradually hope that the larger learning systems will be able to adjust kasi understandably because larger, mas madahan yan. No? within this period, more important than anything talaga, lalabas na yung usapin ng life skills. No? Life skills, really, for ano na yan eh, the whole issue of balik ka ulit sa grit. Hindi mo, maraming bagay hindi mo kuha biglaan. But at the same time, the whole idea of growth, meaning uh, you can still acquire new skills, new learnings, and all that. But for me, quasi spiritual yun, but I think it's also a life skills is ano, the whole idea of gratitude. I call it gratitude because like anything, magsimula ka sa anong meron ka, ano pang pwedeng puhunan mo. Even while you recognize ano yung lack mo, ano yung gap mo. This is the whole issue of appreciative inquiry combined with critical inquiry. Mabihasa kasi tayo sa ating traditional education na trace sa critical inquiry. Mahalaga yon. What's wrong? How do we set it right? What is the gap? How do we fill it? But the other aspect is what is working that we can build on? What do we have that we can use so that we can address the gaps and the changes that we have to do? So, siguro isang item na lang related kay sa sinabi rin ni Rose. While TESDA, I think, bias ako ha, of the three big education institutions of CHED and DepEd and TESDA ang mas flexible, no? But then, its flexibility cannot be developed by itself. I think there's a way, yung kaya siya na-expose dun sa COVID, dun sa hearing sa Senate, the new ALS bill, which I think will definitely have have a major support at appreciation kasi nga mangyayari sa basic education including senior high. How do you now develop a more adapted, flexible, alternative learning system? A lot of that will be linked agad sa both life skills and technical skills and livelihood skills. So I think the difficult and slow coordination between the Tibet system and the senior high school, lalo na yung kanyang TVL track, has to be accelerated. And on the other hand naman, yung sa relation sa technical, vocational education and training and yung higher education. Kasi, like for example, in construction, even before this uh, COVID, sinasabi na talaga ng maraming mga nasa construction, kailangan namin ng next level, supervisory and other even close to junior managerial skills on the field and on site. Masyadong cumbersome yung requirements of formal higher education. Pwede bang sabi nila mas mabilis magtulungan yung TESDA para yung NC3, NC4, NC5 ganon. Mga ganon ang mga possibilities na nakikita ko just in this past month for the sabi nga nila many of these things hindi naman bago eh. Pero baka COVID, ECQ, and learning will become a catalyst. Yung mapapabilis. Ang tanggap naman ng marami na dapat mangyari. Pero, siyempre, we're taking our time. May kanya-kanyang institusyon. Bagal-bagal. Pero dahil nga ngayon, forced tayo to not only be more flexible, but do it faster in managerial terms, yung idea of developing a sprint approach to development, and developing a design thinking para sa ganun ay parang the changes that are needed and where the conditions parang demand it can happen much faster than it used to be. And in a sense, our being in the South, not as established, northern industrial, formally integrated, is an advantage kasi yung maraming masyado ng invested in large systems, mahihirapan mag-adjust agad kasi maraming the sunk investment. Tayo na marami sa ating system hindi pa gaanong ka-established well, baka ngayon madidesign natin in a more flexible way dahil nga because of this COVID. So I really hope that even during this time, especially in the transition period that Rose mentioned, that the collaboration among various leaders in the educational sector and industry can happen more parang more consciously, in a more organized way, and a bit faster.
All right. Thank you, Ed. I like that portion when you said about critical thinking. We are trained in the formal sector to think critically, but there are some of us who are also practitioners of AI, yung appreciative inquiry,
Yeah.
and you seek out like what is the highest potential, what is already there that we can
Yeah.
improve on.
Build with it.
I think that's something we really need to look at. Now, thank you, Ed. I'll go now to one of our colleagues in the Philippine Marketing Association and also a partner of a lot of schools in TechVoc. Medyo high-tech to, no? In one of the tracks that you say, DDG discussed, andyan yung Tech ICP. Ito, I think sila Mylene and their students were also able to build yung robotic alcohol dispenser. But in general, Mylene, what do you think? How is it going to be in the new normal? How do we teach children like to do robotics, to do things that are really highly technical, that we can really make a dent? A lot of our audience now are teachers in TLE, in TVET also. So, what's your take on this new normal and tech book education, especially in your line, which is robotics? Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nato. First of all, I'd like to mention a few days when we were about to go on lockdown, I immediately contacted the Philippine Robotics National Team. And the first thing I asked is that, can you make automated robot alcohol dispensers that will not require any human intervention and that we will save alcohol? Because at that time, for a fact that the first few days, nagkakulangan ng alcohol. So they did that, and using the Lego material. So they did a Lego automated robot alcohol dispenser, which we distributed in the public markets, the hospitals, and also the seminaries or where the priests are staying, and also the hospitals. So this is our first, I would say, inventions that we have created for fighting the COVID crisis. Second is that we also made a emergency robot ventilator. We know that for a fact that there are also going to be a need for more ventilators. So we made another robot ventilator, which can be used in ambulance and even in hospitals, and using again the Lego or the advanced robotics or the KNR robot kits. So this one we are now we have deployed it in hospital in Bulacan. And moving on, if I can please show my slides. Other than robotics, is that we know for a fact that everyone will be using blended learning. So what is the new evolution technology? We have introduced new ways for learners and even educators to learn from the comforts of their home. And we know that these skills will be used for as after the crisis is over, they can still use all these skills in their both personal and professional life. Next. We have introduced the virtual robotics, where the Philippines is the first country to churn out or roll out a virtual robotics curriculum in the world. What we did was we conducted virtual robotics tutorials for learners, and we have the community activity is the first Philippine Virtual Robotics Challenge. The challenge was the students to go through a playing field or a virtual playing field, and they're supposed to bring medical supplies to a typhoon-stricken village. So that's what they're doing. It's a lot of programming, and this is all about critical thinking, as you have mentioned. So these are skills, and we have been applauded by the Department of Education and as well as the World Robot Olympiad for being the pioneer country in rolling out these kinds of platform. Next. So with this is the playing field. It is using a virtual robot, and they are going around the playing field. And then as the robots complete missions, they have corresponding points, and then whoever does all the missions will get points. So this is the first. Yeah, next. In addition, we have also been, since our company is a Microsoft Global Training Partner, We are now training teachers on how to use Office 365, which is a powerful tool, which includes OneNote, Excel, PowerPoint. Particularly for the OneNote, now you can grade your students virtually. Since they're doing their homeworks from their homes, they can submit it to the teacher, and then teacher now can automatically use OneNote and grade the students. And in addition, we're using Teams. So just like we're doing today, we can have as many as 10,000 viewers in one time using the Teams. And we're also using Minecraft for education as the output. We know for a fact that the children really know how to use Minecraft. But in addition to that, we're using the code builder, which is part of the Minecraft education, so that we can teach our students to be coders at a very young age. Next. Now, other than teaching them how to use the Office 365 or this remote learning for educators, tomorrow, for a fact, we are now using what we call the digital designer or the story visualizers for the Department of Education teachers or private school teachers. And we have given out free licenses for them so that they can have an output, because we know for a fact, like this, you're listening to me, it's all one-sided, but we want you, the listeners, to have an output. So after the live webinar, the participants submit to us an output, and then we will give them their certificate, so at least we know we know that they have learned something from the live webinar. So other than that, we have also initiated something different. Yes, next please. So this is STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics education for educators. And we also know that math is one of the most difficult subjects to learn and to teach. And we are now offering advanced Singapore math. And we know that Singapore is very good in mathematics, and we have used the same platform, but we are teaching or learning calculus, algebra, trigonometry, probability, which are very critical math subjects needed for college level. So this one we're offering so that even in your homes, you can now have advanced mathematics, so you can be ahead of your other classmates. Next. And from the comforts of your home, maybe we can partner with TESDA. Actually, we are a TESDA accredited company for robotics technology, for a fact. DDG or the net, Ma'am Rose, we are accredited as a robotics technology school. And finally, would like to share with you that we're now offering language courses for what, $5, which is 250 pesos. Why? Because you can learn a language while you're in your homes, and then after after we're in the new normal, you can now use it as a tool. Either if you can be part of the travel agencies or the tourist industry, or you can also use it as a skill, an additional skill if you're working with in whatever test the skill that you have acquired in the TESTA school. So these are all ways for us to help upskill our workforce, not just the learners, but even the educators, the TESTA enrollees. And we would like to really help the Philippines bounce back after this COVID situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mylene. It's really, sabi ko nga, I invited you before for a seminar, but unfortunately, you were going out. I think you just won the robotics competition in somewhere
Yes,
in Europe.
we won
So,
gold in Denmark when you were
yeah, in Denmark.
Hungary. Sorry, you were in Hungary at that time. Yeah, thank you.
So I think Pelta has been in the forefront of really promoting robotics education in the Philippines. So with that, we will now go into, of course, life skills. And who else is the expert? But of course, our very own, my former boss, my former president in the Philippine Marketing Association, no other than Henry Tenedero, a fellow Tomasian as well. Ayun, nag-promote pa ng UST. So, uh, Sir Henry. So finally, we're doing this webinar, and I'm glad you can be with us. So you can take it away for life skills. What's your take for this new normal? I mean, this point in time, we really need life skills, right? It's more than, of course, there's technical vocational education, there's lifelong learning, but at the end of the day, we really need life skills. So, okay, Henry, Sir Henry, you're muted. You just need to unmute. All right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me, Nato?
Yes, yes, perfectly.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, let me thank you, Nato, Jason, and Jelix for having this webinar. I've always believed that with or without COVID, the heart of education is in the education of the heart. When I developed this 51 skills program called Life Skills for Life Success, I have to factor the fact that I'm dealing with a particularly exciting school called St. Clair College, which is located in North Caloocan, where two barangays, namely Camarin and Bagong Silang, are located.
The largest.
Camarin and Bagong Silang considered the largest and the most financially challenged. So how do we move them now to this new normal when everyone seems to be going high tech and yet they're still belonging to the world of high touch? But then again, I said, I think it is not a matter of what you teach, but how you teach what you know. In other words, a difficult subject can be taught in ways that can address different learning styles. In the ECQ world, we see the interplay of learning styles. People learning with sounds, with bright dim lights, with formal informal design, alone or with a group, etc., etc. Which in traditional education, normally we focus only on the four modalities: visual, auditory, tactile, kinesthetic. This is a reality that we have to embrace because this is the new normal. If there is such thing as VUCA world, there's also such thing as a COVID world. Complex, overcomplicated, volatile, infuriating, and dangerous. So I think personally, I've been in education for more than 20 years. I've developed books for teachers, students, etc. The crux of the matter is that there is no more need to invent a new wheel because there are existing wheels. We just have to transfer them into the new normal platform, which is digital. And I'll be honest, I'm a face to face person. That's why even if I use digital, I gesture a lot because that's how I deliver my lectures using passion and laughter. Because at the end of the day, the heart of education is not really equipping them with so much IQ knowledge. But the heart of education is, to me, education with the heart in mind. Now more than ever, we need leaders, educators, business entrepreneurs to become transformative. And I'm happy that you have a roster of excellent speakers. By the way, Maylene Aviva was also a former president of the Philippine Marketing Association. So let me just give you a brief background, or a topic background. I just finished recalibrating our life skills program in the school. First, we have to understand that we have different types of faculty members, but all of them will be undergoing the following education beyond the curriculum or education in the new normal by educating for humanity, educating honoring individual learning diversity, educating on the vital role of experience, educating for holistic education, the role of educators, access and equity, participatory democracy, global citizenship, earth literacy, and spirituality. The same content that we have given before this lockdown, but the same content only calibrated. We're using a new format for them to appreciate that, hey, it is not a matter of knowing how much, but knowing quality learning, experiencing quality learning. I just posted a while ago that in the long lines of SAP, people getting SAP, responsible leaders should listen to the woes of the people. The same manner that we are going through a new landscape of education. Practically, online education is the buzzword now. And yet, the reality is in terms of infrastructure, hindi pa lahat ay internet connected or savvy. So, wag natin alisin yung kombinasyon ng high-tech at high-touch. Wag natin alisin yung paniniwala na sa gitna ng kalungkutan at pag-asa, edukasyon pa rin ang great equalizer. Educate the human heart and that all others will follow. To me, COVID-19, I'm so happy that I'm still alive to experience this special episode in one's generation. I'm so happy that I'm still breathing the breath of life to be able to repurpose my life in these 2 months of lockdown into thinking that I think at the end of the day, I will die as an educator. I think my contribution in terms of legacy is in the field of making people believe that educating the human heart is more important than educating for memorization alone. Because what you have memorized and not exactly comprehended is that education is simply learning. So one of my idols here, of course, is Ed De La Torre, who championed the theory of multiple intelligences into believing that we have different kinds of abilities, that not everyone is scientifically inclined, not everyone is logical or linguistic, but we have different talents within the purview of Harvard's multiple intelligences. And as a platform, we should not forget the fact that we have different learning styles. Some people love to learn with bright light or dim light. Some people love to learn eating food or munching or no food at all. So we cannot have one size fitting all. So as part of my advocacy is to train myself also. I-adjust ang aking sarili. To tell you honestly, this is my only third time using this technology. But I'm enjoying it because it's the new normal. If I will not adapt myself, I might as well die because there's no use for me living on this earth not appreciating the learnings and insights we all gain from this COVID-19. We will not die because of the virus, but we will die because of our apathy, because of our abject rejection. That's why for the entrepreneurs in the Go Negosyo, we're telling them, come on, let's have enlightened leaders into believing that profit is important, but profit is not the be it and end all of human life. And this is what I want to see in education, whether in formal, ALS, TESTA, etc., etc. That there's going to be a leveling of the playing field. In my 51 skills that we've developed, I'm fast tracking it because I want to transfer it into an ebook. And all other books I've written for teachers, super teacher, excellent in teaching, cooking up a creative videos for parents, mindful ideas for educators, etc., etc. So I think this is a beautiful time for us to gel. This is a good, beautiful time for us to look at education into as a many splendor thing. Because not all educated people are learned people. Character makes a man, and I think every one of us are summoned to contribute to a better humanity. Thank you, Nato.
Wow. Sir Henry, ang daming reactions from the comments. Oh. Talagang they're repeating what you're saying. Educate the human heart, yeah, and everything else will follow. So, um, hindi pa po tayo tapos ha. We will still have another round of questions. So nakalagay dito, infrastructure, equipment, internet connection, skills, compassion with the heart, educating with the heart, not only the mind. Mga reactions from Pilita Reyes. All right. So, ayan, humanizing education, Mary Ann Ongkoy. If you think about it, with DepEd, I think we are trying to educate like 27 million learners, right? 27.2 million learners. With TechVoc, we still have a balance of so many people trying to educate as many people for human capital development. And when you say human capital development, right now the whole world is everybody is at zero. When you talk about leaping forward or bouncing back in a big way. I think in the Philippines, there's a big divide pa rin, no? How do you think can we reach out to those people who are still who don't have access to formal training, even technical vocational training at this point in time in terms of COVID? Because in the education sector discussion, this was really um, dealt with deeply. People, we were already talking about the IT infrastructure, the human infrastructure, the teachers. I think that's why the bounce back education sector really grew to something like 50,000 in the last 2 weeks. So, what do you think will really reach out to the last mile in terms of human capital development in the Philippines? As we see it right now, of course, the resources of government, we know that it is coordinating and kumbaga engaging also different government partners and also the training centers. But at the end of the day, we still have that last mile in the countryside also, and even in the urban centers, there's a huge number of people still unreached, and there's I think a direct proportion between the level of education of people or the skills of people versus the level of development that it has. Like for example, I will cite Korea. In terms of the gaming industry and the IT infrastructure, is very strong. That's why it's also one of the big in the creative industries. It's also one of the biggest players. Um, Recently, I think CCP had all their sila Chris Miliado allowed the people to be able to see the plays in CCP and to have access. And to me, that is also learning the humanities. No? So, siguro my question is, because we have a lot of teachers in the audience, how can we really end that gap and bridge that gap between those who still don't have access to life skills, to lifelong learning, and more importantly, tech book. Kasi these are the skills that will really help them, kumbaga, entrepreneurial skills. Like for example, if you learn about robotics or if you learn about life skills, it's really going to make you productive or employable, or even you can be an entrepreneur. So, what's your take on human capital development in the Philippines? Can we like overtake our ASEAN neighbors? In the creative industry circles before, we were targeting to be number five in Asia in the next 5 years. So this is on software, on film, on all of these things that are technical and also part of the tech voc education. What do you think? How can we bridge that gap and make sure that the Philippines really bounces back and leaps forward 5 years ahead, even beyond this COVID crisis, even beyond the new normal? Maybe we can start baliktad naman. Counterclockwise. We'll start with Henry, then Mylene, then Ed, and lastly we will ask DDG Rosana. Yes, Henry, what do you think?
Okay, let me answer it this way. Uh, if you notice people who take MRT,
Yes.
ahaba ng pila, mga buhay, but look at them closely, mga mukhang patay. Because they know the what they have to work. They know the how to go to work. I think this pandemic time gives us the time to answer the why.
Mhm.
Pag alam mo ang bakit mo, madali ang ano at kung paano mo gagawin. Pag maganda ang mindset mo, klaro ang mindset mo, positibo ka, anumang skills ay pwede mong tahakin. Mga bagay na hindi mo kadalasan ginagawa. So, balikan mo yung bakit mo. I-purpose mo yung kadahilanan mo kung bakit mo ginagawa, yung ginagawa mo. And then i-angkla mo siya sa mga nangyayari sa panahon ngayon. Yan ang ginawa ko. Sabi nga ni Ed kanina, routine. I will miss ECQ because practically my time is full. May time ako mag-exercise for my heart ailment. May time ako mag-meditate, mag-online mass, mag-grocery, etc., etc. Which in normal times, wala. Pero ngayon, to keep my sanity, to be alive, not only living, I have to follow this routine. And I'm excited about the whole process. Why? Because I devoted some time to refocus and ask myself again, we don't know what will happen in the world, but if you know your why, you're willing to go a long journey.
Okay. Thank you, Henry. How about Mylene? What's your
All
take
right.
on yeah.
Okay. My take is everyone has a mobile phone, at least a smartphone. Most of the Filipinos have a smartphone. Even our youth have a smartphone. And what we'd like to propagate is gamified education. It's so difficult right now. So again, I'd repeat that gamified education using free software or offline, which means you just save it in your cell phone and you can use it and learn. And then once you're ready to give back answers, then that's a time that you will use internet. This is a mode of instruction that actually Microsoft has already begun, and we're helping them where we provide offline and online resources for both educators and learners so that even anywhere, anytime, they can start learning. Because one of the challenges that we have is distraction. After and we also need to propagate blended learning. So with these kinds of solutions, I believe that both learners and educators will be able to not necessarily have internet connection, but use their mobile phone. So again, mobility in education will be crucial for us to bounce back.
I think the mobile phone penetration is even more than the population of the Philippines. So um, it's just that we really need to make use of that tool and really cut across the digital divide and really deliver that education that we want to give them, or the textbook education that we want to give them. What do you think, Ed?
Well, siguro ang isang maybe both conceptual and value factor na pwede nating bigyan ng pansin ngayon is yung galing sa psikolohiyang Pilipino na ang ating pagkatao ay kombinasyon ng ating kalooban at ng ating mga kapwa. May loob, yung sinasabi kanina ni Henry, no? Yung values mo, purpose mo. Pero integral rin dyan yung sino ang kapwa mo. Why do I say that? Because technology, for example, mobile phone or others, they allow you to link. But question is, kanino? At anong pag-uusapan nyo? When you talk of learning, kung minsan, well, of course, it's a personal, individual responsibility. But really, you always learn, you have an implicit learning community. Yung gusto mong tularan, or tinatanong mo, gusto mong kopyahin, or na-challenge ka. Ako, that was my realization and reinforcement in this setting. Kasi tatanungin mo, sige, maliban sa aking sarili, you dig deep. Ano bang values ko? senior citizen na ako, ano pang gusto kong gawin, anong legacy, ano pa. But more important, sino ang mga taong pinapahalagahan ko sa buhay ko at hindi lamang pinapahalagahan dahil sila'y may naitulong sa akin, kundi ako gusto kong may maitulong sa kanila at sila ang kasama kong kaminsan-minsan ay kausap at ka-exchange, and it can be partly professional, can be family and all that. So, ang isang implication nito, you know, whether for example, when we pioneered on distance learning, hindi lang yun usapin ng meron kang learning materials, hindi kailangan na doon teacher, dapat kayang self-directed learner yung learner. Pero hindi, laging mahalaga po learning na meron kang learning group, learning community. It's never a purely individual, personalistic learning and career. There's always a group you work with. And that is not necessarily just your family or your friend. I think yun ang dapat malaman natin. And that's where the formal education system, not just in terms of delivery, but more important, in terms of evaluation, recognition, certification must happen. So, I'll give you a challenge now, which is our dilemma. Sa TESDA, for example, pagdating sa industry, malinaw yung industry standards. Pagdating sa workers, malinaw, they're employed there. So yung training mo patungo sa formal employment, the structures are there, no? Not only the employment, how it's organized, but their groups, their managerial, supervisory, ganyan-ganyan. But pagdating mo sa food system, sa agriculture, may individual producers, pero yan, may informal tulong-tulong yan. They don't have to be co-ops. They don't have to be associations. They simply have clusters. Nagtatanungan yan, naghihiraman ng humihingi ng tips. Pero ngayon, maraming mga bata, millennials, say, gusto nating mag-link dyan at i-link sila sa mga parang niche market muna and all that. And these people, parang they are driven partly by, they want to innovate, but they also want to earn, but they also want their earning to be inclusive in the sense na maisasalin na yung nasa labas ng market. So ang point ko lang dito is, yung sinasabi ni, I want to go back to yung point ni Henry, yung kanyang 51 clusters, no? At the heart of that is yung yung sense mo ng loob at saka yung sense mo sino ang iyong kapwa. Bakit ko binanggit yan? When we try to develop a course on entrepreneurship for the grassroots, hirap na hirap kami dahil pag NGO, hindi ka na marunong magnegosyo. Ang una nga naming chapter, nilagay namin, kasalanan bang kumita? Kasi parang may tendency, ang profit taking, parang yan. So after na-resolve yan na okay naman yan, huwag ka lang magsamantalang masyado. Sinabi, pero ano ngayon? Ang unang tanong namin ganito, laging tinatanong ng gustong magnegosyo, puhunan. Panimulang puhunan. Ang aming unang chapter, ako pa nga nagsulat doon, so I remember that dalawa, ang unang puhunan mo ay, well, in English, human capital, social capital. Tinagalog namin, pagkatao at pakikipagkapwa. Ano ang exercise? Simple lang. Pagkatao, sabi namin, humarap ka sa salamin ni Boy Abunda. At tanungin mo sa sarili mo, ano ang tatlong pinakamahalagang katangian mo na pwede mong gawing puhunan sa buhay? Sa buhay pa. Ikaw ba'y matyaga, matatag, gano'n. Basta malikot ang utak, gano'n. Pangalawa, kung naset mo na yung tatlo, maghanap ka ng dalawang pinakamalapit, matalik na kaibigan magsasabi ng totoo at magkahiwalay. Pasulatin mo sila, ano ang tatlong katangian mo na kanilang tinuturing na pinakakalakasan mo. At i-compare mo yung tatlo. At pag nakuha mo yun, yan ang iyong unang panimulang puhunan. Then next, pero hindi yan magiging puhunan kung hindi may kabakas, katulog. So, social capital naman. Ang aming exercise, simple lang. Okay, isulat mo. Sino lahat ang kamag-anak mo? Sino lahat ang kaibigan mo? Sino lahat ang naging kaklase mo? Sino lahat ang makakilala mo? At ang next tanong, una, sino dyan ang magpapautang sa'yo? Sino dyan ang bibili ng produkto at serbisyo mo? Sino ang willing bumakas sa'yo? At sino ang magsasabing, tulungan na ito, mabuting tao ito. Pag pinagsama mo yung dalawang yun, may panimula kang pagsisimulan ng kombinasyon ng skills para sa buhay at para sa kabuhayan. And an interesting exercise, 3 months later, may pumating sa akin taga Bicol. Kuya Ed, sinunod ko. Tumaas ang aking, sinulat ko lang yun. Hindi naman talagang malinaw na hango pa yun sa case study. Sinabi niya, simple. Sinabenta ng dried fish sa Naga. Tinek niya minsan, kaya pala siya nalulupit, patulong niya yung kanyang kamag-anak na mali ang ginagawa, so inalis niya. Pero pangalawa, may kakilala siya na wholesaler. No? Tapos ginawa siyang nagkaroon sila magkaibigan, trusted sila, nag-distribute. Sabi ko, tinuro ko lang yan, hindi ko alam, pwede pala talaga. Para bagang kumisa kasi hinihiwalay natin yung life, values, social skills, at technical, entrepreneurial, financial skills. Pwedeng magsama yan properly understood na puhunan, kapital. Ang salitang kaput started with both head, but you could very well say the person. But more important nga, the person, sa psikolohiyang Pilipino, ay kombinasyon lagi ng iyong kalooban. Yung pagkatao mo ay hindi lang ikaw, kalooban mo, kundi sino ang iyong kapwa at paano ka nakikipagkapwa. And I think yan ang crucial because even the digital relationship, in the end, dahil sabi sa akin lagi ng mga millennials, tatay, hindi usapin niya ng sinong like, ganyan. Engagement yan. It's not paramihan, kundi ano yung level ng trust at credibility mo. Hindi lang yung ang nakarami nag-like. Kuminsan kasi yung quantitative measures, mahalaga yan, pero bottom line yan, lalo na sa digital na hindi kayo magkakilala, malaking factor yung credibility mo at trust. Lalo sa ang transaction ay impersonal. So, may mga bagay na pwede nating explore further. At merong maganda, may puhunan tayo sa ating sariling tradisyon, kultura, at pag-iisip, including na yung ating creativity. Talaga malikot ang utak ng Pilipino.
Tama. I agree. Yung sinabi mo kanina, Ed, na ano ba yung mga meron ka na nandyan na sa'yo, inherent sa'yo. Nasabihin ko sana kanina nung tinanong mo yun, looks ba? Parang wala Pag ako tinanong, looks kaya pwede, baka hindi, so wag na lang. Anyway, thank you, Ed. I understand, no? Tama yun. It has to be the integration of all those things that we have. So maybe we can now go to EDG, Rosana. What do you think? Anong take mo dito?
Parang wala na nga akong alam na isagot. Nasabi na lahat ng mga co-resource persons ko Let me put it this way na lang. Before this COVID-19 po, we came up with our vision for what a 21st century learner is. So ang sinasabi po namin doon, a 21st century learner should have competency sa STEM, competency sa 21st century skills o yung soft skills na tinatawag. Dapat meron malakas din sa socio-emotional skills dahil yung mga decisions that he has to take. And of course, yung pong technical skills. So, sa TESDA po, yan po ang tingin namin kung ano ang isang learner or isang dapat na maging produkto ng TESDA after nag-undergo siya ng training. Kaninang umaga po, we were discussing in a Zoom meeting also, ano ba talaga ang dapat natin gawin? Because if we come up with the training regulation po, nag-time and motion study kami, na ang training regulation po namin na dinedevelop sa TESDA, na de-develop po namin mga 1.5 years. By the time na na-develop po namin, obsolete na yung technology. Okay? So yun po ang malaking challenge sa amin. So ang sinasabi namin ngayon, palitan natin, tingnan natin yung mga struktura natin. Kasi if we want to become agile and flexible, kailangan i-review natin. So what we're trying to say now is really to come up na lang with competency standards required of the industry. So we will strengthen industry engagement here. Let the industry tell us ano ba talaga yung requirement nila for a worker. Or when we say industry, hindi lang to mga companies po pati po yung industriya ang sinasabi, pati communities po. Kasi ang TESDA, ang two-pronged strategy po niya is for global competitiveness and social equity. So nakapagbuo po kami ng mga options. And sinasabi namin is that there should be a strategy for emerging skills. So dapat mabilis. Mga ilang days lang o ilang weeks dapat may competency standards na kami na develop. There should be an adapt strategy in which madami ng international standards na nandyan Bakit hindi na lang natin i-adapt? Tingnan natin kung paano natin mai-adapt sa kultura at sa technology na present dito sa Pilipinas. May isa pa po kami inisip kasi ibang-iba ito, yung mga sa indigenous groups po, indigenous people. Because they have a different set of learning methodologies. Iba din po yung, in fact, mas culture ang tinitingnan mo pag nagtuturo ka sa kanila. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin sa kanila na gawin mo ito without them na hindi mo tinitingnan yung kultura nila. So, we have lined up all these strategies and options po na ang sinasabi namin, hindi dapat na tumagal ang pag-develop mo ng training regulation, dapat mabilis. Ngayon, nung nagka-COVID po, lalo po kami nagkaroon ng challenge kasi ang dami-dami po namin gustong gawin. We just woke up one day na ito na naman, flexible delivery system. So, dapat online, hindi naman ho lahat connected. So, medyo may problema po tayo sa connectivity sa Pilipinas. So, dapat may offline din tayo na tinatawag. So, gumawa po kami ng roadmap. Yung roadmap po, hindi ho ganun kadali gumawa ng flexible delivery system. Kasi pag may competency standards ka na, kailangan gumawa ka ng curriculum. At pag may curriculum ka na, saka kagagawa ng mga competency-based learning materials, napakahaba pong proseso. Kaya nga sinasabi namin ngayon is that ang challenge sa TESDA ngayon is really to dapat humabilis kami. Dapat talagang hindi lang we have to curate, ideate, lahat na siguro ng dapat na gawin namin is dapat talaga na mabilis, fast. Kasi kailangan po yun ng technology. So, the roadmap is telling us also we have to really look into the capacities and capabilities of our institutions. Kaya ba pong gawin yan ng TVIs? Yung mga trainers po namin, capacitated ba? Ready ba? Yung infrastructure, both hardware and software, are we ready for it? Ang reality po ngayon, ang gobyerno po, very scarce ang resources. Ang reality po ngayon, halos lahat ng budget namin, nailagay din po sa social amelioration program, 35% of it. So, kailangan po namin ngayon yung infrastruktura in order to do a lot of mga online and as well as offline programs. But given these challenges, alam ko, napaka-creative po ng mga Pilipino. There was even a time, ang sabi ko sa sarili ko, yung mga world skills competition na ang gaganda at ang mga complex na ang ginagamit na equipment ng mga competitors. So iniisip ko, bakit nananalo pa rin tayo mga Pilipino na yung training centers natin pang 1970s or 1960s pa. Dahil magaling tayo talaga. At yun yung hope ko na kung magtutulong-tulungan tayong lahat, we will really make a difference. Yun lang po.
Thank you very much, TDG. So, it so happened that we don't have much time. I'd just like to connect lang dun sa sinasabi ni DDG. So, we have a principle dun sa practical learning company that Jason thought of, yung adapt, adopt, and adapt philosophy. Na hopefully, all Filipinos can really learn this as well. And we'd like to congratulate our guests today, so we have about 5,000 simultaneous viewers. So thank you for sharing with us, Mylene, Ed, Henry, DDG, Rosana. Thank you for sharing this time with us. We'd like to thank our guests, also our guests our live audience. uh, i-acknowledge ko lang kung saan-saan from Gabaldon Annex, SDO, from Binyan Division, from the different districts also. And then we have Richie Bauer, yes, na kahit anong hirap at kakapusan sa budget, as long as we have the will to learn and the intent to cope with and progress, and we will all surpass. Meron din from Surigao del Sur. So it's really a national audience, and we really thank you for being with us, for joining us. So this has been Life Skills, Lifelong Learning, and TechVoc in the New Normal with Bounce Back PH, Bounce Back Academy, and the Practical Learning Company. I hope together we can really make a dent. We can leap forward after this COVID crisis, and at the end of the day, magtulong-tulong po tayo to really reach out to the last mile sa bawat, sana walang Pilipinong maiwan na hindi walang employable skills o kaya walang entrepreneurial skills, maging magsasaka man siya, IP, or fisher folk, o solo parent, o elderly, or PWD, walang sanang Pilipinong maiwan sa new normal. Ito po ang inyong moderator, si Nato Agbayani ng Bounce Back PH. Maraming salamat po sa lahat at sa lahat po ng nanood. Thank you very much and
Thank
see you
you.
in the next webinar.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much. God bless you.
God bless.
All right. Thank you.